some bad news, which is a story that is all too common, which even this story is one of many stories of mass shootings that have happened recently. But this story, we've been sounding the alarm. Colorado shooting follows rise in anti-LGBTQ vitriol. This is a Vice News article. This weekend, a 22-year-old gunman opened fire inside the LGBTQ nightclub in Colorado, killing 5 people and injuring 25 others in a tragedy that follows years of escalating LGBTQ rhetoric in the U.S. and, according to advocates, could have been prevented. I mean, that's another thing talking about in the last story, how the war on public education, how they want to privatize education, they want to end all public services to people, but how the conservatives have been demonizing and putting targets on marginalized groups forever. That is their MO, to find a small group and to point at them as that they're the problem, instead of the fact that it is mainly an issue of capitalism and mainly an issue of them only trying to make rich people richer. But they have to have an enemy, right? People losing their jobs in the country. Oh, it's the people from south of the border that are taking your jobs, right? Well, they'll use racism as a way to justify anger at a group for jobs that are being sent away because it's cheaper to send manufacturing to cheaper places, because companies want to pay as little as possible to get things made, right? And as that gets automated, companies will do that, right? But they use racism as a way to confuse people, to confuse their base, to point their sheep in a direction, to be angry at something. And with this, they label, as they've done before, they label people who have different lifestyles, and they make up, completely fabricate, and demonize these people as being groomers and pedophiles. As historically, that's what they've done. Despite the fact that you actually look and see where those types of people, where the grooming and child abuse actually happens. And it's a lot of people who are in charge of churches. A lot, not only priests, preachers, any kind of religion. Sexual abuse for children happens all the time. Literally, religions are designed to groom and brainwash children, to get them believing in their version of reality at the youngest of ages, to follow in the footsteps of their delusional cult behavior, right? But those aren't the places you see these right-wing extremist groups showing up to protest, to quote-unquote protect the kids, right? You don't see Proud Boys showing up at churches and cathedrals with AR-15s, because priests and preachers are widely known to not only sexually abuse children, but the Catholic Church specifically has protected those priests and just move them around. Very similar to police officers, right? They get fired from one department, they get hired at another department, right? Those are the people that should be focused on to protect the children, right? The police literally killing unarmed children, adults, constantly. Regularly, stories come out about police using their control and authority to abuse children, whether it's physically, mentally, sexually, all of those things. Or the priests, these heads of religions. But that's not where these conservatives are showing up with their guns. Because that's not where the targets are being placed. Those aren't the people that are being demonized by their shepherds, by the politicians. The politicians regularly call for violence. One of Trump's biggest things when he was running, back in my day, we would have punched them right in the face. Back in my day, we would have laid them out, right? Constantly calling for violence, and demonizing every marginalized group, right? Same thing with the conservative politicians now. All of the same thing. All of the same bullshit rhetoric. Labeling marginalized groups, cross-dressers, trans, anything that's not straight white people, labeled as groomers, right? They have their simple little branding. Groomers, pedophiles, boom, that's their little brand. They put it on whoever they want, their marginalized group. That's our new enemy. Those are our enemies. We don't actually care about protecting kids. We do, at no point do we care about protecting kids, right? In fact, we want to make sure all of our people have their guns. We're going to defend our people's rights to own these tools designed to end life, right? Because that's what we want them to do, right? They literally celebrate a child who murdered multiple protesters, right? They celebrated him as a hero. That is exactly what they want their base to do. They want them to use the guns that they fight so desperately to keep against the targeted people that they demonize regularly. They say that they're at the heart of all of their problems, right? All the property damage during BLM was done by the enemy. Meanwhile, majority of them were found to have been right-wing groups doing the damage. But that's not who Kyle Rittenhouse went to go murder. He went to just go murder people that he was told by his politician shepherds, right? He was the sheep to carry out their orders. They put the label on the protesters. They put the target on the protesters, and he went and executed what they wanted, and they celebrated him for it. And when stuff like this happens, Colorado, I mean, there was a Walmart shooting. There's mass shootings all the time. But it's not surprising that this group, these people that live lives that historically have been around since human beings have existed, there's always been a plethora, an infinite amount of ways to experience this reality that is not this binary, made up, straight, white, male, female, that's it. Never in the history of mankind has it ever been that way. They have just used these marginalized groups as ways to deflect and as ways to demonize, to distract people from the real issues, from the real things that are the problem in this country. So it's sad. It's absolutely sad and disgusting. And, you know, it's not surprising that politicians put targets on people to see people go out and shoot at those targets. Whether it's them putting a target on who they felt was their political enemy with Pelosi, or if it's them putting targets and making up completely fabricated, unproven, disgusting rhetoric around their targets they put on anything that's not anybody that experiences life in a way that is different from their just delusional binary view of human existence.
New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on YouTube and everywhere our podcasts are found. Binge the full week over at inspireddisorder.com/plus. Buy Ray Taylor Show merch over at inspireddisorder.com. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out!
Today is the day where you wake up and you realize that everything that you've been dreaming about, everything that you've been wanting, every goal and wish and hope that you've ever had can become real. Dreams can come true. What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.